From KPRC2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
The conflict in the Middle East continues to rage on with no end in sight. Israel continues to attack targets in Gaza, saying that they're going after the tunnels and control centers of Hamas, the terrorist organization that attacked on October 7th and killed at least 1,400 Israelis and many more injured and others kidnapped. The aftermath has been a relentless bombardment by Israel of what it says are critical targets. Palestinian Health Ministry says more than 2,800 Palestinians have been killed, many of them civilians. And a hospital in Gaza was hit. That resulted in possibly hundreds of deaths, an incident that was blamed by Hamas on Israel. And the result was an inflamed Arab world that included demonstrations across Arab countries. President Biden flew to Israel to declare U.S. support for that country to defend itself, which also helped inflame even more anti-U.S. protests. With me this morning to talk about how we got here and what's ahead, Dr. Imran al-Badawi, University of Houston Director of Middle Eastern Studies, and Dr. Mark Jones, Fellow at the Baker Institute for Public Policy. Dr. al-Badawi and Dr. Jones, good to see you.
Good morning.
Hey, after years and years of conflict, what's going to take, do you think, to keep this conflict from becoming an even bigger catastrophe?
You know, I listened to all of President Biden's speeches on the 7th, on the 17th, and the 19th, and I got mixed messages, to be honest with you. And ultimately, what we see in the Middle East with all these long-standing wars, the wars between Egypt and Israel, with Jordan and Israel, and at the end of these conflicts, there is a diplomatic solution which leads to diplomatic ties and ultimately peace. And I would say that that's the model that we need in this case. However, I don't think we're on track to do that because, you know, Biden was on TV the other day. In my opinion, he was selling the American people another war. Now, of course, we've lost our appetite for war after the debacle in Iraq. And now what's being packaged to us, of course, is a war with Hamas, Putin, and Iran, in that order and in those terms. And that makes me skeptical about peace in the short run. But in the long run, I don't have any doubt that there needs to be a diplomatic solution.
Dr. Jones, your thoughts about that?
Well, I think we are in a situation where the Biden administration is trying to avoid this going from a regional conflict to a more broader regional conflict and trying to keep Israel out of conflict with Iran. This is a situation that has, people from Henry Kissinger to James Baker to Anthony Blinken have all tried to work on. No one's had any success, and it's one of those situations that seems pretty intractable. While there's hope for peace, at the present time, it doesn't seem likely, at least in the near or immediate term.
We've talked about on this program and with you last week on the program about all the years and years and years of problems and challenges between the Israelis and the Gaza because of occupation that's going on. So I know that the tensions have been growing. But Hamas is there now, and Hamas has been declared a terrorist group, and certainly the attack on the 7th was a terrorist attack. It seems like everything that's happening now is going exactly the way Hamas would want it to go, that things are inflamed and it's doing the instability in the region.
So yes, there's a couple of things to say about this, of course. I mean, Hamas is a terrorist group, and that's what they do, right? They wreak havoc, and they initiated this, this round of the cycle of violence. Now, the clock didn't begin October 7th. I must, of course, caution our viewers. But at the same time, Hamas is in part bankrolled by regional powers, including Iran. And we can't forget our role also, for example, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, who is the Iranian general who played a big role in liberating, or so to speak, propping up the Syrian regime. Those are bills that are coming due. We don't like the way that it looks now, but those are things that come to mind. Like, why is this happening now? Of course, this is a shocking attack. It's never happened in Israel's history. The lapse in security is something that is bewildering. It's bizarre. No one can really understand it. At the same time, another thing I want to mention is that Hamas is the only resistance of the Palestinian people because, of course, the PLO have been defanged. They used to be militant, and they've, of course, lost that privilege. And as a result, all there is Hamas, and Hamas is not a democratic organization.
So, Dr. Jones, if that being the case, Hamas is clearly civilians are in harm's way because of what happened, the actions of Hamas, in this case, exacerbating this conflict. That's a challenge, is it not? I mean, because they're really being able to dictate the images of civilians being killed and that sort of thing, but it's because of Hamas that they are in harm's way in a lot of respects, in this particular case.
Well, yeah, certainly Hamas instigated the current conflict, and by murdering so many Israelis and kidnapping others, they've effectively forced Israel into doing something in terms of response, in part to show the Israeli people that there's still resolve within Israel to defend the country, and to show other countries in the region that Israel will not be attacked and will respond in kind. But in doing that, the only way to really engage in that activity is through an invasion that will result in thousands of civilian deaths. And that's what Hamas wants. I mean, that's Hamas's goal, is to have as many Palestinians die at Israeli hands, so that then that will inflame the international community and turn much of the Arab world against Israel.
Dr. El-Badawi, we've seen this before, and Ray in the control room, I want to go to the next video of some of the issues relating to Palestinians. Palestinian does not equate to Hamas, but the Palestinians are on the receiving end of a lot of negative results of what's going on here, including humanitarian challenges at the border and everything else. They've been asked to move, told to move out of the area, move to the south, and they were being attacked to the south. And we see all kinds of issues where Palestinians are on the negative end of all of this. The optics, who wins in this? Who wins in this whole thing?
So the big question of who wins is ultimately the Palestinian people don't win. The Israeli people do not win in this scenario. What's happening now is we've transposed, in a war that's gone too far, into the extermination of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Absolutely, Hamas is entrenched around, fully civilian, populations and centers. But there's a problem, of course, which is the complete dehumanization of Palestinians by associating them with Hamas, with ISIS, with Nazis. These are literally the native inhabitants dying in their own homes, and where the media is promoting all this this vitriol against them. It fuels, of course, hate crimes in our country, which maybe you want to address later. But for the moment, the Palestinian people, the dehumanization of them, doesn't allow any sort of intelligent discussion about what to do about Palestinians.
The problem is the president this past week talked about a two-state solution. A lot of people said that's the answer. He said that. Prime Minister Netanyahu hasn't talked about a two-state solution in a while that I know of. Your thoughts about what the president's influence is in that region, and if it ultimately has any kind of chance at all to bring a two-state solution back into the conversation?
I mean, we can talk about the two-state solution, but that's not a reasonable proposition, at least in the medium term. The president, I think, has come down very supportive of Israel, but with trying to put some guardrails around what Israel does. Whether he'll be successful or not remains to be seen. Traditionally, Israel has not asked for permission from the United States to engage in any activities. It generally informs, but it doesn't ask for permission. Biden's signals, at least recently, have been that it needs to ask for permission if it's going to go beyond whatever they've agreed on in their conversations.